Yeah, but for me, it was normal.
Right.
I was used to that.
Well, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, and Hell's Kitchen's changed a lot from when I was growing up. Because when I was growing up, it was still a little bit on the edge in the Port Authority bus terminal. And the Port Authority's kept its edge by nature, I guess.
Yeah, it has.
But the rest of the neighborhood is much more dressed up. Yeah.
Come up a bit. But the Port Authority was, I used to use that a lot. I was living in New Jersey, actually, but in the mid-'60s, it was very cheap to live in Union City or Jersey City. And coming in and out of that Port Authority bus terminal, what I saw in there in the 60s, my God, it was horrifying.
Right.
The only places I think probably in Alphabet City still has a sense of the old tenements that I grew up in.
That's what was weird working on this commercial too. Is it's not tropes, but so much of the iconicism of New York has stemmed from your work. So it's bizarre to all of a sudden be,
Well, the only thing is like when you're down in the street in Soho, that you're walking along at the end. And when I was growing up, that street is where you went to steal hubcaps.
And now it's...
and also other things.
Yeah.
So, not that I stole the hubcaps, but I was with guys, kids. Now, it's like being in Provincetown, Connecticut, I guess. I never was there, but...
It's fancy as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love in Taxi Driver, having just watched it again, too. I feel like you see so many things about moody or people on the edge. Watching it again, the opening shots are like super beautiful and serene, and the music's playing, and it's not lecturing. The movie's not lecturing you and telling you.
No, I just saw the city that way all the time. One of my favorite things in the city is the steam coming up out of the street, and so I had to have the car go through the steam.
That opening shot.
Yeah, I had to, and that was done on 22nd Street somewhere late at night. There was criticized at one point by certain snobby critics saying, and that's the level of the metaphor of the film, hell. A cab is coming from hell. I said, no, that's New York. It's the steam in the streets. It is what it is. And when you see things come through that steam that way, you could think of, if you want, you could think of the Inferno, you could think of Paradise.
Right.
You don't know.
Right.
It's a beauty of the city late at night that way.
Yeah.
When you just pipes of smoke coming up all the way up 2nd and 3rd Avenue. Oh, man.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful.
And the red lights, the tail lights of the cars. It was always raining, too, that summer.
But you guys got lucky.
It was always raining. And
it's
finally,
amazing.
We were waiting for the rain, and we started to go 2 or 3 days over schedule, and they were really mad at us. The studio was screaming. And I got in a lot of trouble because they were going to pull the plug on the picture. And so I said, we're shooting in the rain. So it's not going to match. We'll have to figure out how to, we better shoot fast then.
Yeah. Get it done.
I still go back to basics. Normal lens, long lens, wide angle lens.
Right.
And then from there, you could go infinite.
Right.
And so movement or no movement of the frame or movement of the camera in the frame, because a pan is different from a track, right?
Right.
So I stay with those basics. And then if there are new things that could be implemented in there, and using focal length in a certain way, but I do find that after all these years, and with all the new technology, there are more choices, and it's kind of good in a way, except that more than 2/3 of those choices you don't need to make.
Right, because you end up wasting time or something?
It's wasting time.
Yeah.
So it always goes down to the basic, as an actor and as a director. What do you want to say?
Right.
And what's in the way? Something's in the way. What the hell is it? Is it technology, or is somebody, in front of you and you're trying to do something and they're distracting you? It's that simple.
Right.
And now with
there's few filmmakers that have a command of both, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
to not get sucked into just the cutting edge.
Well, I think a lot of those filmmakers are recent in a way, because they grew up with the technology. I did not. It's another generation.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting what you guys do.
Well, that's why and I don't want to be cynical, and I don't want to take myself out of being a member of my generation as I have in the past. But I just think boredom is a good thing, and the way I was intensely bored growing up and had to read books, or if I could get my hands on a movie at my grandma's house, you cherished that movie. And with too much information, too much access, you know what I mean? You're not going to
Well,
replicate.
it was a similar thing when you're talking about boredom, in a sense, because of, in my case, when I was 3 years old in 1945, I contracted asthma, and my parents were working class. They didn't have books in the house and that sort of thing. They would just take me to the movies a lot, or let me eventually go by myself to the movies. And I had this little tiny area in the apartment before everybody came back from work.
Wow.
Then I started to learn how to read novels. And this priest was an interesting guy, Father Principe. He was the one who gave us Graham Greene and James Joyce. And that sort of when we were about 13 or 14.
Right.
And I started to read. That was a whole issue.
Right.
But I think...
but it was piecemeal in some way.
Yeah. But what happens is that it's the old take the horse to water, and if the horse drinks, so that I had a couple of people who were doing that for me, and we were sustaining ourselves. We were continuing. We took advantage of those suggestions and guidance, and it wasn't always friendly. These were tough guys.
But they weren't telling you what to think or what was good. They were kind of giving you the keys in some way.
Giving you a basis of morality too.
Right.
And somebody pointed out, said like in Killers of the Flower Moon, or a number of the films I made, where the level of corruption is so deep because it's not the society is not rooted in morality or any kind of spirituality. That's what human nature might be. That without that guidance or without that even dialogue between people about morality and spirituality, it becomes pure corruption.
Right.
I mean, if in the movie, because the Native Americans don't understand the value of money, if I charge you $1 for this glass of water, they pay it, and then you realize they don't really understand paper money or anything like that. They're rich, but they don't know why, and they don't know what money is. So when they come in again, I'm going to say it's $10, and they pay it.
Right.
So I'm going to say next time $25. I'll keep $15. Meantime, we're friends. We take care of each other. And I'm just you got the money anyway. I have to work for the money. You're not. I mean, but that's an interesting moral issue. If it's only $1, charge $1. And so that's the interesting thing about how we could become complicit in absolutely genocide.
Yeah, and a genocide not told about, really.
No,
I wasn't educated on it. But the movie's still very spiritual, though. Like almost all your films.
I think it is.
There's a spiritual core to it.
It's interesting how corruption just infiltrates every aspect of your life, and you could learn to live with it because you don't react against it. You don't speak up.
That's what's so great about the Leo character in it. without giving anything away, this guy's a complicated figure, to say the least. But it's handled so delicately. You don't feel that you're taking him, you're not instructing the viewer how to feel either way.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like in the case of Wolf of Wall Street, for example, I only learned the other day from an interviewer who said, "You're not aware of the war of Wolf of Wall Street?" So I said, "What are you talking about?" So, well, there was a big screening at Paramount of the picture. And for the critics in New York, apparently, I was told this, there were two camps. One camp that loved the picture, and the other camp that was furious, saying, "I didn't take a moral stand on Jordan Belfort." And one of the critics from the other group that liked the picture said, "Do you really need Martin Scorsese to tell you that that's wrong?"
Right. Yeah, it's well said. That's well said. Yeah, it's well said.
You really need him to tell you that's wrong?
Well said.
He knows it's wrong.
Does that moralistic attitude bore you a little bit now, or no?
Well, it's beyond boring, I think. It's always been around. I mean...
because America's a Puritan country.
Well, it says it is.
Right. Well, that's what's confusing to me as a young person is
but there's a difference. There's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Okay.
And religion could taken the wrong way, could become something that is restricting and becomes intolerable and becomes judgmental.
Judgmental, keyword there, yeah.
Yeah. So you have a big problem. Good example is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
They're all Europeans who were Protestants.
Right.
I'm not condemning Protestants. I'm just saying that was the
moral code.
They had a morality. When a guy like Bill Hale, played by De Niro, who says, "I love these Osage people," and he's killing them, but he does love them. Now, what is that?
It's fantastic because you don't feel there's no music cue that says this guy's evil.
No. It's he's just going to do what he's going to do. But that's the thing I think ultimately about concentration for younger people and taking the time not just to make a movie to become famous. That's good too if you can.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately if you have something to say, if you're really burning,
and not just the party line.
Yes, exactly. Because
the most important things are things that are new and fresh, point a way forward, point you to how people are feeling. Yeah. It's harder to know now. There's less mainstreaming of things now. I think things are a little more.
I was going to say the other night we were at this big event. People were talking about that the news is different now and this and that. I said, look, back when I was growing up, there was CBS, NBC, ABC. It's gone.
Right.
I said, in effect, the mainstream is going.